Welcome to the Boxing Source Podcast, where we go over the latest news in boxing and react to all of the fights that happened in the past week. Now, let's go to our host, J.R. Bell.
Oh man, what is up, everybody? We are here for April 27, 2025, the Boxing Source Podcast. We've had a lot of things that have been going on in the sport. Of course, here with myself, I was out at the Bowie State University yesterday for that fight card headlined by Greg Sharpshooter Outlaw against Wendery Martinez. There where Sharpshooter Outlaw was able to get the stoppage victory there to become the WBA NABA welterweight champion. So he was able to execute very well there from the start of the fight. Okay, and once he got the score, the knockdown there in the second round, well, they pretty much called it after that. So Greg Outlaw gets to stop his victory there at the headlining bout there at Bowie State University to become the WBA NABA welterweight champion. And so we're gonna have more news there with Greg Sharpshooter Outlaw here in the next coming weeks. Now we're gonna get into a few things here when it comes to what's been going down. Of course, with that fight that happened at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, over there in the UK. We're going to be talking about that. We have, of course, a big fight week there. Also, had recent news there in reference to Top Rank there. So hey, that June 7th card over in Norfolk, of course, I was out there for, the press conference, there the previous Friday, but we even got some more stuff that's going down. Hey, I'll see if I could talk about that, if I have some time as well. You know what I mean? So, because man, I'm telling you, man, hey, if there was any more reason for me to be excited about that card, man, now, oh my goodness, you feel me? So we're gonna get into this thing here, when it comes to the fight that happened between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, right? Hey, it was, of course, as they say, domestic dust-up over there in the UK or whatever it is, right? And with that being said, I thought it was, he ended up being a little bit of a better scrap than I expected. I expected, the thing there, Chris Eubank Jr., being there, the pretty much as they say, the natural middleweight, to overwhelm Conor Benn here in this and, eventually get a stoppage. But ended up being a good scrap. While Conor Benn was able to take a number of those punches that Chris Eubank Jr. Was able to deal over the course of those 12 rounds, especially there in that 12th round, because that 12th round, man, I thought Chris Eubank Jr. threw almost 200 punches. That after the start of the part of that 12th round there, where it looked like he just missed a hook wide, you know what I mean? But after that, he just kept throwing punches, just kept going forward, kept moving forward there, and just wouldn't relent there against Conor Benn. So, whether, the fight would have been in the balance, after 11 rounds, he wanted to make sure that he won that 12th round there. And he caught Conor Benn with a number of good shots there in the 12th round. Now, some, look like they really affected Conor Benn, but given that it was at the, at the tail end of it, it didn't necessarily have enough there. But both fighters were spent. They were absolutely spent there in that bout. You know what I mean? So, kudos to both of them, for going through those 12 rounds. There, of course, they're at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. The fans were, really amped up about it because, of course, it, stems from the fights that Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank Sr. had. You know what I mean? But after the 12 rounds, it was all three judges in agreement, 116, 112, 8 rounds to 4. That's pretty much 8 rounds to 4 in favor of Chris Eubank Jr. there. So Chris Eubank Jr. Was able to get this win there, with that 116, 112 on all 3 scorecards there. But it was just something there where I just felt like, hey, you had the guy that was the, as I mentioned, the natural middleweight, was able to get what he needed there in this one. They said it was 67,484 at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Now I don't know, man. I was out. Of course, the fight that happened between Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois at Wembley Stadium, and that said that they had over about 100,000 fans or something like that for that. But this one, like I say, the atmosphere for it was just, absolutely crazy, for it. So definitely, props to both guys, especially with Eubank, like I said, was outworking Conor Benn there, even though he had like I said, a major cut, you know what I mean? But still was able to push forward. It's mainly about the activity there from Chris Eubank Jr. that was able to get him the upper hand. You know what I mean? And catching a few good shots there with it. You know what I mean? So given the way that the fans received the fight, of course, given what Turkey Al-Sheikh was able to see here through this fight, they're going to try to push for this to be a rematch here later this year. And I don't know about all that. Was something there for Conor Benn to compete there in the middleweight division, and after the fight, pretty much at the post-fight press conference, you're seeing there on multiple occasions that you had Eddie Hearn, who of course is promoting Conor Benn, say that we wanted to push for Conor Benn to compete at 147 pounds, because that's pretty much where his weight was at. But I mean, listen, his past 2 fights wasn't even at 147 pounds. The last one he had against Pete Dobson was in February of last year, and that was pretty much at 150 pounds. So him getting down to 147 after not really competing there or making 147 or around that range since April of 2022 against Chris Van Heerden. Yeah, good luck with that. And he's there at 28. Yeah, good luck with that. You know what I mean? I'd would probably be advised to see about if this rematch could go forward, because I mean, think about it there with Chris Eubank, right? He's there in the middleweight division, and we got what's happening out there at middleweight. We know who the world champions are at middleweight, and they're having on one side trying to see if they could make some type of unification bout, but yeah, I don't know if Chris Eubank is really in the picture to try to compete for one of those world titles. Now, even with his name alone, he probably is, as they say, the biggest name in the middleweight division right now. But at this particular juncture, it doesn't look like they're having movements to try to position him to fight for a world title there in the middleweight division. So that being said, hey, we might, go ahead and, see a rematch here coming up, or, maybe we have Chris Eubank in another bout that maybe Riyadh Caesar, Turkey Al-Sheikh tries to set up here. But, given the overall reception, at least there in the UK for this first fight, I'm seeing that there's going to be a rematch here for this. I really see that that's pretty much going to be the path, is that's going to happen. You know what I mean? So I say if you're gonna go ahead and try to see what would be the best route, I would say the rematch is the best route easily for both fighters. Gotta be the best route for both fighters. You know what I mean? Because like I said, I had the thing there on one side for Chris Eubank Jr., right? For Conor Benn, what is he gonna do there? Eddie, of course, Eddie being Eddie, right? He wants to, try to push for his fighter there, Conor Benn, and say that, he could, potentially compete for a world title in the welterweight division. But come on, you got Bout there as the unified champ. Okay. You got Brian Norman Jr., WBO champion, that's now been set up for a bout against Jin Sasaki. That'll be in June. And then you got Mario Barrios there, the WBC champ, who may be in line, for a big fight. There's been, of course, a couple of hints here and there, you know what I mean? But we haven't had, quite an announcement about that yet. So with that being said, there goes the welterweight situation. So are you going to wait another, 6 to 7 months to see if you'll be able to make 147 pounds again? Or are you going to just see if you could, try your luck with another fight at 154 or, like I said, with the rematch? By far, your most lucrative fight is a rematch with Chris Eubank Jr. Outside of that, I don't know what other path you could get Conor Benn to have a good money fight. You know what I mean? Unless if they could say, I don't know, Liam Smith or something. I don't know. Like I'd have to see where Liam Smith would be at, because with Liam Smith, he was on the fight card there, and he ended up having a clear loss. So to Aaron McKenna, shoot, I haven't necessarily seen what they're saying about Liam Smith. Like I said, I'm not gonna say his nickname. Nah, dude. Like a dude can't be calling another dude that type of. Nah, I ain't doing it. Sorry, that ain't happening. So, with that, right? Maybe we have to see what's up with that, because with Liam Smith having that loss there, right? That's his second consecutive loss. Of course, he got stopped by Chris Eubank Jr. in the rematch, and that was almost 2 years ago, right? So here you're gonna have Liam Smith there at 36 years old. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sorry, y'all. Liam Smith, man. I'm gonna say it before I get one of my great guests on here, right? I'm gonna say this about Liam Smith, and y'all see it. That man has a haircut like he's 53 years old. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry I said it. All right, I gotta get my guy on here, man. Shout out to one of our great panelists here, of course, here to talk about what's going down in the sport of boxing here, man. It's my guy, the boxing academic, is in the building. What's happening with you?
What's going on, JR? How you been, man? Been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a good little bit. Man. Just catching up on a few things here with boxing. Had a couple of fights here and there. When it comes to fight week, I was able to hit the local cards here on my side. You had the thing there with Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. They were able to, have a, as they say, a good little scrap. With Chris Eubank Jr. there, getting a unanimous decision win. There, some people said that it was a very good fight, but as far as I'm concerned, there, with Eubank Jr., he was able to get this win, and he had to have a say as a precautionary visit to the hospital due to his cuts and stuff like that. But all in all, he was able to push to get the win there with his performance there in the second half of the fight. But as far as what's next. It's it almost seems obvious that the rematch is easily the most lucrative route for both fighters, and outside of that, you really don't have that many I would say possible options for either fighter, particularly with with Conor Benn, because he's floating around from 147 and then had this fight here at 160. So I mean, that's what they got there on that front. But since it's been a while since we caught up, man, what are you thinking of what's been out here in the boxing scene so far?
Unfortunately, I've been detached. I had some stuff with work and like just some other like professional commitments, man, that just had me real busy, and that's why I've been sort of ghost. But unfortunately, I didn't even watch the fights yesterday. But now I got a lot more time, or at least more time, and I at least wanted to just show my face. And if Matt was on here, he can talk about me and tell me how I'm not a real boxing fan and stuff.
Little word. Well, I mean, I don't know. He might be in the middle of some type of trivia thing or whatever it is, but I let him know, about this thing here going down and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it's been a good little minute, since you've been on. So it's like a lot to catch up with. Like I don't even think you like really assessed the thing for Boot Ennis getting his win there a couple weeks ago. They're over Iamana Sanionis too. So it was a
Oh
lot to catch
yeah.
up with that. And then also, wanted to, I have a big, announcement that, recently went down there for in the heavyweight division. So we're going to be talking about that as well too.
Okay, you want me to talk about? I can talk about the Boots fight.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, it was what I thought it was, what it should have been, and like it's just a tale of two different skill levels. You got like a whatever level fighter against. I don't know if we call him a B level, but right now, let's just say I give him a B level because true talent tells over time, and like at one point you probably could have placed Ndungo in a very low B level, but then once he sort of fought like more fighters, he's definitely like probably a low C or somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So it's hard to tell where you put Stanionis. Like he definitely a high C, but is he a B? Maybe not. I mean, Boots started off with his speed. He started off with his agility. And that was the difference. In the beginning of the fight, there were times where Boots was getting hit with shots to where I was like, and then it was times where it appeared that Stanionis, if he threw shots, it looked like they could land, but maybe he was a bit apprehensive because what Boots probably could have thrown back. Yeah, I mean, it was what I expected. I mean, Boots put the punishment, and I mean, at least from what I remember, Stanionis like wasn't no like bitch, right? Like, because when you're overmatched, you have opportunities where people just like sometimes it's smart to just fold them, right? It's smart to be like, nah, no mas, because you getting like really hurt. But other times people quit in the sense like they quit before they even try. And it was like, it wasn't like, what was the outcome? I can't remember the outcome.
So what ended up happening was like, Stanionis didn't necessarily fold, but his corner basically did
Said,
because
yeah, no mas.
they kind of like realized at that point that they really couldn't, Stanionis really couldn't do much there, after getting knocked down, what around that 6th round or something like that. But that start was pretty much really key because it for Stanionis, he had to be able to establish a jab very early, and he didn't necessarily do that, at least to me, until around round 3 or 4. When he did that, he kind of like had a little bit of momentum there, but then it swung right back to Boots Ennis in the following round. Boots was just way too comfortable there, in the pocket, at range, and other type of things there. And I said this like going into the bout that it was really key for Boots Ennis to have 2 fights after Stanionis had his last fight against Gabriel Maestre, last May, because even before that, Stanionis had been going through that whole back and forth, seeing if he could finalize a fight with Virgil Ortiz Jr. There throughout the whole of 2023, and it never really happened. So he had basically been out of the ring for like 2 years until that Maestre fight, and while he had a good performance there against Maestre, that's still, not enough to try to get prepared for a guy like Jerome Boots Ennis. That's on one side, and then the other side, I think that there were a number of people that really bought too much into what happened with Boots Ennis and Karen Chikazian in their second fight last November, because Chikazian is just a completely different style of fighter in comparison to Iman Stanionis, who was like there. He'll be like right there in front of you. He'll see if he could try to move around, with his head and stuff like that in order to use and establish his jab. But with him not being able to start off with that early, it really like messed up his overall game plan. And after he couldn't really do much after the third and fourth round, it was a wrap for him.
Yeah, and it was a smart decision. Like at that point, why keep him in there? Because I remember, if I remember correctly, Boots started landing heavier and heavier shots,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a couple shots that sort of like hurt him, if I remember, toward the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, like why continue with the bludgeoning? Like it's very unlikely he gonna win this fight. Yeah, he's still trying, but the round before that, maybe he did get knocked down, I think, in the round that he went to the corner.
Yeah. Yep. That's what
and
happened.
then like I feel like they was asking him something, like obviously asking him whether he want to continue, but it was more like you want to continue taking this type of thing, Yeah, but I mean, if you sort of follow boxing and you follow Boots' career and you follow Stanionis' career, Stanionis is a decent fighter, but Boots is a exceptional fighter. Now there are things that the right fighter could take advantage of that Boots does have some things he could improve.
Mm-hmm.
Like he has sort of lapses. It's like this is a very overgeneralization, but like the Philly style where they are exceptional and then they just have certain lapses. And when I say that, obviously I'm thinking about J-Rock. But J-Rock was at the top of the mountain at one point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes he just had lapses. And I can see that happen times with Boots. Like Boots is exceptional. And I mean, to some extent, Terrence Crawford sort of does that too. But I will say when Crawford got to his epic, his mountain peak, he was on point and he wasn't letting none of that falling off or not locking in like affect him. And obviously I feel like that'll happen with Boots too, because in Boots, most competitive fight, he raised his level and then the skill level was shown no different than what Terrence Crawford did.
Yeah, and the thing there with Ennis is he's there at like 27 years old, so he's still got a good amount of time here to really build on what he has. It's just that now he gets that thing there where he could be called as the unified welterweight champion and the top fighter there in the welterweight division right now, and it's just nowhere but up on that front with him. It's just now with the welterweight situation. It kind of like opens things up for him to, go ahead and get, one of those mandatory defenses out of the way there, as, the mandatory for the WBA is like a matchroom boxing fighter. So you could have an in-house fight there, and get that done no problem, while, the other world champions have something lined up there for the near future, right? So, that's, the one thing as far as like, catching up with that.
Well, let me say one last thing. So this may not be relevant now because I got to think about like what weight classes, but if Keith Thurman doesn't have a pot belly and he can last 12 rounds, I think a fight with Stanionis and Keith Thurman could be interesting.
Well, the thing is, with Keith Thurman, he's good at like 154. He handled that fight against Brock Jarvis, not Brock Lesnar, but Brock Jarvis. And they're trying to see if they set up the fight between him and Tim Tszyu, as Tim Tszyu, really didn't have much of an issue here for his fight. So I'm looking to see if they're gonna have set up a fight for the summer between Tim Tszyu and Keith Thurman, over there in Australia. So that would like set up that scene there at 154 pounds, at least on that front. And for Stanionis, I mean, yeah, I don't know, because I have to see like where they would position him. Whether in the IBF or the WBA now, and see how he will be able to work himself back into the mix. We probably likely is went back to his home country there in Lithuania. I know that he was dealing with training over in California for the Boots fight while his fiance, I think it was a fiance there at the time, was about to have their first child. So he's now back to seeing his family, and once he gets all settled in, then they got to see what would be next for Iman Stanionis there as a former world champion. See if he can get back in the mix there in the welterweight division. So that's pretty much like the scene there for like both fighters on that instance, right? Now, one of the get to the next thing up. We got coming up Friday. Friday over in New York City. Sorry, y'all, man. I ain't going. Like it'll probably be too crazy out there, so I ain't going. But you're gonna have that fight card out there in Times Square, headlined by Ryan Garcia and Rolly Romero. There, of course, you're gonna have Devin Haney there in the co-feature. Going up against former 140-pound unified champion Jose Carlos Ramirez, and you're gonna have the WBO in Ring Magazine or lineal champion there, Teofimo Lopez, going up against Arnold Barbosa Jr. So you got 3 fights there for that Friday at Times Square. So makes for a pretty interesting fight card there. Headlined by Rolly Romero there and Ryan Garcia. They had recently had a face-off. It was kind of interesting to see them join back and forth there for that. I thought one of the things that was key was Ryan Garcia talking about with his fight against Devin Haney, like outside of the whole thing with Osirine or whatever he took that was over the legal limit, that he was there like smoking. He said he was smoking, he was drinking and all that type of stuff, before the fight against Devin Haney. But he says now he's not really doing all that there for Rolly Romero. But so many people probably say that it probably won't be that necessary there for Rolly Romero. You know what I mean? But yeah,
who's showing this card?
This will be on the Zone.
The Zone, okay.
Well, the Zone pay-per-view, okay, because they have like a pay-per-view doubleheader. They have like a little offer for that, as you're gonna have that on Friday, and you're gonna have that Canelo versus William Skull on Saturday there. So they're trying to push for a pay-per-view doubleheader there on that front. So that's how that's gonna work.
I stopped you from your thought where you were finishing your thought.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously these are good names on the card, and to have it on Friday, I think for working people who don't necessarily like go out and stuff, yeah, this is not a bad day, and I'm sure it might be basketball on Saturday too. So, yeah, with the first fight you named, with Ryan Garcia and
Rolly
Romero. Yeah, like you said, Ryan could probably smoke and do a few things that he shouldn't do, and he should very well win this fight. I think that Rolly Romero, just my gut feeling, without this just my gut feeling, I think Rolly is gonna come out there kind of gun shy. And I think that's gonna affect Rolly. I don't think Rolly is gonna pressure Ryan Garcia like he probably should. It's just something in my gut tell me that Rolly is gonna be gun shy. And maybe it's because his last couple fights, his last few big fights, he got knocked out, right?
Like he got stopped against Pitbull Cruz there. You know what I mean? So he
And
ended up
then
he tried to see if he could do his his fights, but it didn't necessarily work there because he really had a defense to stop the onslaught there of Pitbull Cruz, and Pitbull just wore him down.
how many fights before that did he get knocked out with Gervonta Davis?
What was that, like a few fights there, because he had that joint there with the
With the old guy.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean?
He went tooth and nail with the old guy.
Right. Where he was in trouble against Ismael Barroso, and then of course he had Tony Reeks do what he did, you know what I mean? But even after the fight against Isaac Cruz, he had one fight against Manuel James there where he went 10 rounds with Manuel James. And yes, that's the same Manuel James that ended up fighting Abdullah Mason this February and just got beat up by Abdullah Mason on February. So yeah, so that's what we had. You had Rolly's fight against Tank there at Barclays Center. There that Memorial Weekend. Then after that, the Barroso fight, and then after that, you had the Isaac Cruz fight, and then he fought Manuel James. Now he's got this bout here against Ryan Garcia. Shout out to Topic TV in the building, and my guy there split. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I definitely could see him getting knocked out again, and I think it will sort of be predicated off of his shyness, because I think at some point, like how he's been sort of matched up and been taking sort of punishment and I just think he's gonna come out more gunshot than what he probably need to, because even though this will get him knocked out too, to me his best route to potentially win this fight is to go balls to the wall. Excuse my language.
Yeah.
Pause whatever you say on the internet without getting canceled. And so I think that's his best route is to pressure him. And I just feel like he might be gun shy and he won't be able to do that. And then he's just going to get caught with shots where it's just sort of like he just laying down and just sort of taking the shots. I hope that don't happen, but I can see that happening.
Word. Now, you had my guy there, Topic in the building. He says, both Ryan and Rolly Romero there are hook style fighters. Yeah, they're pretty much like quick twitch. When they deliver their punches, so it's more like real quick, like 1 2 1 2 1 2. And I think the thing is for me is that Ryan Garcia will be a little bit more fluent. I wouldn't necessarily say fluent, but faster there in this instance. You know what I mean? I hope Ryan wins, and he got Ryan in the first 3 rounds by KO. Hey man, he's highly favored in the odds there, man. They got Ryan Garcia at -900 on DraftKings and -1000 there on FanDuel at this current juncture. So you know how that goes there on that front.
What's the odds for a knockout?
The odds for knockout. Hold on. So let me see what they got here for Ryan Garcia. By KO is -350. So it's highly favored for Ryan Garcia by knockout. Like by decision for Ryan Garcia is like +500, and Rolly by KO is like +800. So it's they seriously leaning towards Ryan Garcia there for the win there and whatnot. You know what I mean?
Is there a chance that Ryan comes in and like shits in the bed, whatever the correct way of saying that he comes in? You don't think so?
I don't see it.
There ain't no way for him to blow this one.
Nah, I don't see it.
I don't think so either, but I'm just saying, could he come in super overconfident and not? I mean, he said he didn't drink and all that stuff, but if he did that for Devin Haney, do you actually believe him that he ain't drinking for this fight?
Yeah, I don't know, man. He probably he
be talking
a little bit. It's just, hey, I just see from the face off that he's he looks pretty okay. You know what I mean, for the time being. But he ain't he ain't doing his antics like he did against Devin Haney though. You know what I mean?
So he's more focused. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he's a little bit more focused or toned down. I would say toned down. He's more toned down here in this particular juncture against Rolly Romero. And of course, this is his first fight back since his 12-month suspension anyway. So, there's that. But even with that, I mean, you still got like fighters that haven't fought in a full year anyway. I mean, shoot, look at Iman and Stanionis. You know what I mean? So
What's his normal cadence for fighting?
for Ryan?
Yeah.
I would say probably like once every 9 months or something, maybe.
Okay, so this ain't too far off.
Yeah. But before that Haney fight, he actually fought like 4 months before that, and then he had the Tank fight in like April of 2023. So he had like 3 fights within a span of 1 year there. So, but that's 2 key fights there within 1 year, having the fight with Tank and then the fight with Devin Haney. So, there was that, right?
What was the other 2 fights you named?
Like Tank, and then he fought Oscar.
No. On the card, on the Friday card.
Oh, the Friday card. All right. So you got the Devin Haney versus Jose Carlos Ramirez there that's gonna be on it. You know what I mean? So they had the whole thing with the press conference there, what was it, out in New York City, and a lot of people were like booing Dev or whatever it is, like he's some type of heel or whatever. But it's just Dev being Dev, you know what I mean? So he's gonna be out there, trying to do his thing against Jose Ramirez. And my thing is like you gotta have 2 guys that are pretty much gonna have their first bout of sorts there above the 140-pound division. Ramirez, he had his loss to Josh Taylor, sometime back 2021 for the undisputed super lightweight title. And then in this last bout was against Ardo Barboza there, as far as for that Riyadh season card there through Golden Boy, where he ended up losing. He had like a couple of competitive spots there against Barboza, but still ended up losing that fight. So here against Devin Haney, wanted to see like how he is going to be able to properly move around in that joint, and talk about odds there too. Highly favoring Devin Haney, for this one. Like when you're a minus 1,200 favorite, like 12-1, like those odds. I'm like, come on, y'all.
That sounds about right though.
Yeah. Damn. Oh, I was about to say I didn't even see. I almost initially didn't see it on FanDuel, but it's the same there as far as like around the same odds, minus 1,200 for Devin Haney. So that's how that go. You know what I mean? About to have another guest on here to jump on here in this conversation with the Boxing Source podcast. Of course, had conversations. Yeah, pretty much as I said, conversations with this young man out here that's being able to join us on this particular Boxing Source podcast. Man, it's the topic in the building. What's going on?
Yo. You can hear me?
Yo.
Yeah, what's happening?
What's up, fellas? How y'all, man?
Pretty good. How about you?
Oh, good.
Chilling. Boxing Source, what it do, baby?
Yo, what's happening, man?
Man, it's been a lot of action, bro, since we last talked, bro. What
Oh,
y'all wasn't here talking about?
Yeah, we got that thing going up in Times Square on Friday, man.
Man, I don't think people really realize like how big that card is, like that's here in the US, you know what I mean? Like that's the Riyadh season cards that we've been seeing here. Like think about it. We got Ryan Garcia, Rolly Romero, we got Devin Haney, Tiafimo. Those were the like top guys in boxing for like the last 5-6 years,
Yeah.
So like to have all of them guys on one card, like that's a huge like boxing card for history. You know what I mean? And then it's a storyline behind it. You got, a mix up of fights that can happen depending on the winners, So I think that's a real big card. Each fight is gonna be fireworks. I like the Tiafimo fight. You know, this might be one of his toughest tests
Oh,
coming up.
could you wait on the Tiafimo and start from the top? Because we done went over I'm sorry, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but we done already went over um
The first two joints.
yeah, the first.
You talk about.
Yeah, could you start from the top?
So from what Ryan Garcia joint?
Yeah,
Yeah,
from
yeah,
Ryan
yeah.
Garcia. Yeah, my bad.
Okay, so what y'all was saying? My bad. I just got on this joint and started talking. My bad.
Oh, word. So yeah, we went from the main event there. Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero. You know, of course, they had that as the headliner fight. They had, of course, a little bit of beef there and a distant pass, with a little bit of a training, sparring session, all that type of stuff. Of course, they had a common opponent there in Tank Davis, of course. But, outside of that, to me, it's more of like two quick twitch fighters, but Ryan Garcia is the the taller one there, and with the reach, I feel like he's gonna really try to overwhelm Rolly Romero in this one.
So, all right, with this fight right here, right? I feel like this fight gonna be more exciting than what people, you know, think with this one too, because think about what we just saw with Tank and Lamont Roach. People didn't expect it to be what it was, but this fight got similar storyline behind it. Those guys had a lot of history.
The odds are highly in favor of Ryan Garcia in this.
That's
Have they
cool,
sparred before?
Yep.
right? So it's history, like it's personal. Forget the odds. It's personal, you know, history behind these guys where this fight can be a lot more. I know Rolly's had a couple tough fights. Ryan's last performance, was decent. It wasn't, he dropped Haney. I think, with that one, I think Haney was a little bit not as focused for the whole fight. We know Ryan got that lethal left hook that he can just land at any point, that you gotta really be on point. He don't even know when he gonna land it. It's just a natural, like instinctive defense mechanism for him. You know what I mean? Like a cobra striking is just if you in range, that's the punch that he feel comfortable with.
Yep.
Not a jab, not no, that's
Right.
his jab, basically. You know what
Let
I
me tell
mean?
you what it is. It's that Bruce Lee practice a punch 1,000 times.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And with him being comfortable, having those multiple fights with Dev, with the amateurs, and if you get to a point where you say, after a few rounds, you feel like you're comfortable with the punches that he's been able to land, then you're able to take more risks. But it was really big for him to score that knockdown in the first round. That kind of like amplified his confidence there, so to speak. So
Exactly.
even though you had a point where Devin Haney was racking a few rounds here and there, you still seen that Ryan Garcia like said, you know what, if I'm able to get within range, I know that I'm faster than him. And if I can hurt him, then that's that, So
My
So
thoughts on Rolly is a little different. Like it may change slightly because you said they sparred before, so there is familiarity. But I think with, like you said, with Rolly's tough sort of routes to get to this point, and in all of the sort of biggest fights where he fought people at a certain level and higher, he's taken a lot of punishment and got knocked out. I think it's just something in my gut that tell me Rolly is going to be gun shy in this fight, and he gonna get hit more than he should because he's not gonna come out pressuring, which gives him the best chance to win the fight. I just feel in my heart. Before you said they sparred, I feel in my heart that he was gonna come out more gun shy, which will lead him to get sniped a lot more. That's just my gut feeling.
yeah, I gotta see. I gotta watch his fight with Manuel James again, because there, he went through like full 10 rounds there and pretty much like won every single round. But, after that, coming off of his loss to Isak Cruz. So it's like you said there about Academic, is he going to be, gun shy, to try to anticipate what's coming back, you know what I mean, against a guy like Ryan Garcia, who, as I would say, is faster. It could be a little bit faster than he is. So that's the thing that I'm waiting on there from Rolly Romero, particularly early in this upcoming fight on Friday.
What's your name again, brother?
I'm Mike, bro.
Oh, okay, I'm Mike too.
Yeah,
What you think about that? Saw you what?
You can call me TP.
TP. What you think about that?
Say it one more time. With the Rolly and the Ryan Garcia joint still.
Yeah. Well, I said I think he may come out gun shy, just based upon sort of the punishment that he's taken, and just feel he gonna be in his head. Something in my gut feeling tell me he might be in his own head.
Yeah, I can agree with that. You know what I mean? He's definitely been humbled, I'll say. He's definitely been humbled. Those last few fights were real tough. So that's why I'm trying to lean on maybe the only thing that'll really get him going. They say get up for them fights is the personal background that like him and Rolly kind of built each other's early stages of their career off of them two. You know what I mean? Like off of their buzz on like Instagram. They were sparring each other a couple times. I want to say maybe. I know it was one video in particular that they were real viral online for. You know what I mean? About I beat him up and this and that. So this is a fight that's long. Like boxing has reached that point with these guys where this is not like they amateur. You know what I mean? Like that build up. It's time for the biggest, best fights. So even if Rolly is gun shy, he's gonna have to fight these, tough fights, and this is a good fight for him. It's personal. It's a personal fight for him, so he's gonna, I feel like, fight for more pride with this fight. Something similar to like the Ben and
Eubank we just had.
Something like that. You know what I mean? Because it's like I say, they both built each other's career off of talking trash online and them sparring. So this is actually them getting in here, settling business. So I think both of them coming off of, rocky situations. Ryan's coming off a year-long suspension. Like I say, he didn't look the best. He's been open about not being as committed to the craft and dedicated, personally outside of the ring to the grind. So who knows what he's been looking like, you know what I mean? Like I say, he looked strong in his last fight, but I think if Haney was fully locked in and not worried about is Ryan really fighting or, all this different stuff, I think we might have seen a different fight. And then two, when Rolly fought Tank, we've seen that he's susceptible to getting broken down. So Rolly got some crack too, just like Ryan got crack, So Rolly similar to Ryan. You get in range, you just got reflexes,
Right. Yep. Exactly.
They got a reflex. Them guys like reflex fighters, like bro was saying, Bruce Lee practice a punch 1,000. You know what I mean? Those guys got that kind of mentality where it's not like they're gonna strategically set up, I'm gonna set a trap for 3 rounds and then pull the counter. But those guys is gonna be more so like
it's more of
a fight,
Ryan being able to do that. I would say a little bit quicker than Rolly.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But then too, Rolly might try to bully him, you know what I'm saying?
Which is his best opportunity.
And they sparring, that's what Rolly was on. So that's what I'm saying. It's like Rolly gonna come in that joint looking at it to me like, you little bruh. You know what I'm saying? Like no matter how big you is to me, I don't know who older or not, but that's how Rolly was trying to like carry it.
Yeah.
So that's why this fight got different makeup. Huh?
Rolly's at 29.
Okay, and how old is Ryan?
What is he, like 26?
So Rolly gonna probably, like I say, no matter how big you is,
You still
I'll
little
get
brother.
you still little bro. So that's why I think this fight gonna have a little bit more. You know, I could be wrong. Ryan could walk out that joint first punch and tap Rolly chin and fold him up.
I got a question.
All
What's
right.
up?
They both throw wide punches. Whose punch is gonna get there first if they
Like
both throw the wide punch together?
like bro say, Ryan Garcia got that speed advantage. I think he practiced that jump shot a little bit more.
I
You
agree.
know,
I agree. I agree.
I
Yep.
think that's
Yep.
more natural for him.
Yep. So yeah, that's why like I still favor Ryan Garcia in that upcoming matchup here on Friday. But they gonna have all this stuff there for the activities there for fight week or whatnot. Yeah, I can't. No, I can't make it to any one of them joints. But want to get to that thing there with the co-feature, Devin Haney there against Jose Carlos Ramirez. With Dev, he's coming off of a no contest, but people are they still have it where people are viewing it as a loss because of how he handled what was going on in the ring, and that I think going into the fight, a number of people like highly favored him to beat Ryan Garcia, so they didn't expect what happened to actually happen, regardless of the test results. You know what I mean? So it's like he's coming back from this and what happened after the fight, now going up here against Jose Carlos Ramirez, who, as I said, had the loss to Barboza last November over in Riyadh. So, this one is, more so like a comeback of sorts for Devin Haney, and seeing if he, has like a little bit of that confidence back here for this fight. And that if he gets through this and Ryan gets through what he gets through, then we have that rematch that they're going to try to set up for later on in the year. So that's what my quick assessment there for that fight. What y'all got on it?
Well, I think Jose Ramirez is from the crop of fighters that were okay in their title runs, but they weren't really that good. And I'm not trying to disrespect them. I'm just simply saying, I don't think that I think there's a stark difference in skill level, which is very much shown by the betting odds. And if Devin does what Devin does, simple Devin should be able to win this fight. Jab, 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 throw a right hand at some point. Devin could to me could literally do that the whole fight, and he should be able to win just based off his punch, leaving at time stamp one and getting there a lot faster than Jose Ramirez. And then Jose Ramirez will still be trying to figure out what's the next punch he gonna throw. Now, there is some tape out on Devin where you could sort of like time him and, set him up and stuff like that. But I just don't think that his skill level is enough to take what Devin will give. And, with Devin moving around the ring, he's more of he needs you to be right there in front of him. This is all Devin. This should be all Devin. As long as Devin got his confidence, which he should have it should be an easy win for Devin. He
Smells like
might
a
get caught with
12-0.
something. Go ahead.
Smells like a 12-0 fight, basically.
Yeah, he might get caught with something just because he lose his concentration, but it should be a unanimous decision. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. And I kind of like see it as a clean decision win there for Devin Haney, unless he has like an opportunity where he could just step up and kind of like increase the offensive output to maybe like overwhelm Jose Ramirez if Ramirez is just like absolutely flat-footed. But you kind of like made a good point there with Ramirez. Like over the course of his run there at super lightweight, he was good, but could you really say that he was great? And I don't see like at a point there where you probably say he was great or exceptional there at the 140-pound division. I mean, this is like even before he ended up losing to Josh Taylor there for the undisputed championship. So that's why sense with there with Jose Ramirez. You had a little bit more there.
Yeah, and I don't like you made a good point. I don't take away the fact that Devin could throw a bunch of shots and overwhelm him, and the fight gets stopped just because he just hitting Ramirez with too many shots. That could very well happen. It just really depends on Devin's mood. I just really feel that way. My thoughts, but I'm not trying to disrespect Ramirez, but yeah, Devin should win this fight.
You just don't see a path where Ramirez could win it.
Unless that shot from the guys that Anthony Joshua always talk about happens, there's no path for him to win unless he just get that shot from the guys, which could happen, but nah.
I feel you. Topic. What you got?
I think, in my opinion, I think Devin Haney's one of the best fighters in the world, pound for pound. His record shows it. I think he's in his prime. I know he just had a bad night, in my opinion. That fight, it was a lot of stuff going into that fight. You know what I mean? There was a lot going into his last fight. Yeah, it didn't go how he wanted it to go, but I still think he fought pretty decent. He showed a lot of heart in that last one. So I know he's tough. I don't know if Jose is at the pinnacle that he once was, for Haney right now. Haney's kind of relit his flame of like, all right, I'm back, like on that chase now. I've been embarrassed. So he's gonna come out and really, I feel like, just fight clean. Outskill this guy. Haney's jab is like one of the best in boxing. His speed is he's a real quick, like, calculated puncher. You know what I mean? Like, he's fast, he's rangy, and he can place his punches, but his length helps him be able to keep out of distance. You know what I mean? Like he knows how to, like, him and Shakur to me are similar, but Haney will lead a little bit more.
Yeah.
He'll initiate the offense and keep his foot a little bit more. Shakur look to more like counter you. He wants you to come a little closer. Haney can do both. So Haney's like speed is real. I think to me, Haney could beat all these guys on a good night. All the guys on this card on a good night. It'll be tough. Like I say, one bad night can dictate. We've seen what happened. And I don't think it's fair for people to swing it. I don't think it's fair for Haney to get the criticism. You know what I mean? Like, if Ryan was on drugs and they conducted fair business to make sure that, he had an opportunity to claim his innocence and it was predeemed otherwise, why are they mad at Haney? Now the
because they don't like him.
Right. The suing thing, that could have been trolling, it's the business. This ain't the streets. All right, people got realize.
And it ain't high school either.
What he gonna do? Go to his house and do something crazy? Like, how he gonna get him, bro? I gotta be an adult. This is $1 million business, bro. This ain't none of that other stuff that y'all. This ain't, you feel me, the rap industry. This ain't none of that, man. We not doing that. We handle the business by the pen. So that could have been whatever that was, just to get things situated. So I don't think, you know what I mean? Because I look at it from the business side too, not just straight up in those four corners. Like, it's a lot that goes on in, like, outside of the ring, leading up to and after, like, something like that. You know what I mean? It's a lot of stuff. So I think, like I say, Haney's top 5 to me. And I can't wait to see, if Ryan and them get it on later on this year. I can't wait to see something like that.
I mean, yeah, you brought up something there with Devin Haney, right? Because when he was going through his run, to eventually become the undisputed lightweight champion, and then have his win against Lomachenko, and then after that move up to defeat Regis Prograis for the WBC Super Lightweight Championship. He was considered as one of those guys that could be in the pound for pound list, or who some would kind of like say that they would list him within that pound for pound top 10. And then all of a sudden, like, he has the fight against Ryan Garcia, and like all of that stuff kind of goes out the window as far as like his overall talent level or skill set or whatever it is. So yeah, here in this fight, I guess he could pretty much like say that, hey, you know what? I had an off night. Didn't do what I felt like I could do in there in the ring. You know what I mean? Had a couple of lapses here and there, but now I'm fully back, fully in a gear, and I'm gonna show y'all here against Jose Carlos Ramirez or something like that. You know what I mean? Like I was like if I'm Devin Haney in a press conference or something, right? But that is what he's looking to do coming up on Friday night over in Times Square and whatnot. So he had that as the co-feature bout, and then they're on the, as they say, the supposed opener. I guess they're in the pay-per-view or whatever it is. They're gonna have Teofimo Lopez versus Arnold Barboza Jr. there, as Barboza is the mandatory for the WBO belt that Teofimo Lopez has, and this is Barboza's first opportunity to fight for a world championship against Teofimo Lopez, former unified lightweight champion and the lineal super lightweight champion with his win over Josh Taylor, right? So, it's more about, Teofimo Lopez and if he's going to be, up for this fight or not. Because you have, of course, his moments there with Vasyl Lomachenko and with Josh Taylor. But then at the flip side, you've seen his performances that he had last year against Steve Claggett and against Jermaine Ortiz. And then also you can add in his fight in 2022 against Sandor Martinez, those where he's had below average, outputs or performances there. But, some say that it's because of the style of the opponent. But, if you're going to be one of those guys that wants to be considered as an exceptional fighter, you have to be able to do that against any type of style that you see there in the ring. So, we got to see here with Teofimo Lopez how he's going to approach this bout against Arnold Barboza Jr., especially with Barboza Jr. being, like highly confident going into this fight. What it got him listed at 5'9" with a reach of 72. So he's supposed to, have a little bit of a reach advantage there initially there with Teofimo Lopez, but you got to see what Barboza will be able to do in order to take advantage of that.
Yo, bro, you can hear me?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, my joint was tweaking, bro. I'm kind of mad. I missed what you was saying about
the opening part about Teofimo and Arnold Barboza. That's pretty much it.
This is a tough fight. This is a tough fight for Teo, When the last time Teo fought that guy?
Steve Claggett.
Yeah, when was that?
That was what? Which month? What is that? July? No, it was June. It was at the end of June of last year.
And who did he fight before that?
Jermaine Ortiz last February.
What did you think about that Ortiz fight? Did you see that one?
That was almost it almost reminded me of the Sandor Martin fight.
It was competitive.
Nah, it wasn't eventful at all. It was hardly eventful, I would say. I mean,
so you think it was one-sided?
Nah, that fight between Teo and Ortiz,
it was lackluster.
it was lackluster. Like I said with the Sandor Martin fight, it's more about a style thing with that, right? Because
Right.
with Teofimo Lopez, if he's going up against a guy that has like a good amount of offense or is a little bit active, he's more of like a counter puncher by trade. So he'll react to a number of the punches that his opponent will do and try to catch him that way with his speed or quick twitch. But if his opponent doesn't really engage that much, he's not going to be the one to really try to initiate the offense. He's still going to wait on you. You know, like he's going to wait on you like what was it, my guy?
The secure fight.
Like old school Don Malenko in Mike Tyson's Punch Out. Like if you don't do anything, he'll say you better try to do something because he'll beg for you to punch and then he'll try to get you with that uppercut. That's pretty much how Teofimo Lopez approaches his fights. You know what I mean? He's like the Don Flamenco boxing. But yeah, so with Sandor Martin, if Martin wasn't doing much of anything, then Tio was like, come on, do something. But then he'll get set up and get baited into something, and that's how he got, knocked down in one of those rounds was because he was like off, he was like off balance and pretty much wasn't comfortable in trying to get to Sandor Martin at that instance. So Barbosa, you really don't have to worry that much about that, at least with Barbosa, but at least Barbosa will be a little bit more, refined as far as like getting to his opponent.
How big is Barbosa?
They're around the same size, He did have, a pretty close fight there with Jack Catterall.
Like how tall? I mean,
huh?
How tall is he?
Oh, 5'9", same height as Tio.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I thought Barbosa looked like he got a little bit more, I guess, range on him.
Yeah.
But I think this is gonna be a tough fight, like you say. There's been a lot of good build up too. I think there's been a lot of good build up that's gonna make this fight get cracking a little bit quicker. So I like Tio. Tio's a good fighter. I think Tio's been in a lot of good tough fights too. So this is another tough test for him. I like Tio. It's really more so about where his head is. I like Tio's he's a good fighter, but he's more of he got emotions with them too. Like if Tio has got his emotions in check, as far as his mental. If he start throwing, he's good. But if he's got like distractions, like anybody, of course, like anybody, it can keep him from getting to his full arsenal. Like he's got all the skills. He's quick. He's quick, just like these guys. He's got some good reflexes, and he got crack in both hands. He's an exciting fighter too. I mean, he fought Taylor. He kind of iced Taylor. And like the big fights, he fights real.
Yeah, you'd be up for him.
Yeah, he'd be up. But like you say, the Sandor Martin fight was solid too, though. You know what I mean? That stylistically, it was a little different. But I like to see those kind of fights though, because that's important. That's like a flaw in your game. You know what I mean? Like if people say it's lackluster. Go ahead.
It's kind of like how some people view with the Boots Ennis, like how he had his fights with Karen Chikadzian.
Right.
Because it's like a style, mesh up where Boots can't necessarily get to Karen like that, but you have those type of fights there, while you're coming up in the rankings. So you could pretty much say the same thing with Teofimo Lopez with his fight against Sandor Martin.
I mean, because if he's picking them off, right? Like people, I feel like sometimes boxing can be biased. Like I do get it. You know what I mean? People do want to see an exciting fight, but for me, like those challenger guys, they got foreign styles. You know what I'm saying? Like each country has, or each fighter in his own, but majority, like a lot of different countries got different fight styles. You know what I mean? Where we might be used to bang bang where they might, got a quick reflex 1-2 out. You know what I mean? I just want to touch you 1-2. I'm not trying to land devastating shots each round, So like the guy Sandor, I felt like he fought or he proposed a different look for Tio. You know what I mean? And Tio, like you were saying, similar to a Boots when he fought Chikazi in the first time. That's like a flaw almost in your game. You know what I mean? You got to learn how to cut the ring off and get to this guy. These are things you got to know how to step over. Like, don't chase him around the ring. You got to know how to, minimize his options. Know how to
Yeah,
trap him.
exactly. Yeah.
You got to be able to get to him. So that's a flaw in your game where you're used to just this one look of come straight forward and I'm going to hit you with this shot, or, you know what I mean? So
Right.
it's different, styles that are effective, just as effective. It might not be as brutal, but it's scoring wise. It's a scoring system with boxing, Everybody's not going to get knocked out. And that's why I think Haney does a good job of being able to initiate the offense while still being able to counter. I think that's why I say he's like the top pound for pound, where he's got, to me, he don't got the most devastating power, but his shots are sharp, stinging. You know what I mean? Like, it's like if you ever got hit in the face with like a football or a basketball as a kid, or something like that smacked you in your head, you like, damn. You know what I'm saying? Like, that hurt. It ain't got to be no brick, but somebody hit you in the side of the head with a football or something, you like, yo, I'm stinging a little bit.
If it's like something like you don't expect it, of course, it's definitely gonna hurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, if you get caught with a shot like by Dale that you don't necessarily expected, it's gonna sting you. So, but he has that type of ability, and I feel like he's gonna do that there against Jose Carlos Ramirez. But yeah, I think the fight to look out for easily is that fight between Teofimo Lopez and Arnold Barbosa Jr. And I mean, the odds, clearly see it. Like, they got Teofimo at -260 and Arnold Barbosa at +180. So right now it's like really close. And I'll probably like monitor it again here on Wednesday, a couple of days before that fight card takes place. So you definitely have that there coming up. But that's, mainly that card there coming up Friday. You're also going to have Ryo Sasumi there. That's a highly decorated fighter out of Japan, a highly decorated amateur out of Japan that's going to have his pro debut there on that card as well against Lavelle Whittington. So makes for a good card out there that's going to start off the weekend. Of course, you got, Canelo versus William Skull there. That's on May 3rd. And then you're going to have Naoya Inoue there that's going to be facing Ramon Cardenas.
Hey, bro, can I interject right quick, please, bro?
Go ahead.
I want to do a quick spotlight shout out, not to get too sidetracked. Yesterday, I was at the Golden Gloves.
Yeah.
Bro, there's this one kid. He's going to be bright. If he stays committed to the grind and does his thing, this kid's got it. His name's Marcus Luther.
Oh, man. Yeah,
he's fighting in the 143 open division, bro. He just fought in, I think, one of the open international tournaments like last week. One of the national tournaments, won that joint. Yeah. While he's still fighting in the Golden Gloves, and then just won the regional Golden Gloves going to nationals. Mm-hmm. Bro, I just seen this kid. He got some crack. He's got some crack. Like, he's got some power. Each one of his shots is serious, bro. This kid, Marcus Luther, he's like 18, maybe 19.
Mm-hmm. They got him at listed like 16-time national champion.
Bro, this kid, he's got it. Like, he knocked out. I got the video on my page, bro. On my Instagram page.
Hold up. Let me see if I got this joint. I went on his Instagram page. I'm gonna see if I can share it For those that are watching here live on the YouTube right here, man, I'm gonna see if I can share it, man. Cause man, he clocked that dude. Hold on, here, let me see if he got it, man. Bam. Ooh, hold on. You know what I'm saying?
This is good, bro.
Ooh, that's it. Oh, it's a wrap, buddy. Yeah, that was a rose card, bro. It looked like rose card right now. You know what I'm
Bro, he
saying?
pulled that hook so hard, bro. You gotta hear that joint. Like
Oh
I
man.
just talking about a football smack unit. Like that joint was a crazy thump.
There you go. Right there, like that. There you go. Look, let's do it again. One more time.
Bro, this kid, bro, he's like 18, bro.
Man. Yeah.
18. He from out this way, so that's why I gotta stamp him. That's why I gotta stamp him. He from the area. He one of the top amateurs in the nation. Like if this was the draft, in honor of the NFL draft, he is a first round pick. I'm stamping it right now. He one of the next youngest coming out.
And we got a few of those like highly top ranked amateurs there, like him at 143. You know what I'm saying? We got a Son Jenkins there around like 132. We got a few others, out there that's pretty much like top 1, 2, or like top 5. Out here the amateurs, man. So
we got to shout out my man Jamal Harvey, Olympian. We got stamp him. We got to stamp him. We can't do my man like that.
Yeah. So you know what I mean. So
that was just my little spotlight, bro. I had to stamp the guys. I seen that. I said, yeah, we gotta give him his fame, bro. We got to.
Word. So that that's the up and coming talent for folks to watch out for. At least here in the DMV area, and we're gonna have a whole lot of action that's happening. Actually, he's supposed to have some amateur fights coming up here on May 4th, if I'm not mistaken. Either May 4th or May 3rd too. So that's what he got going on. But one thing here I wanted to get at, before roll out here for this particular instance, we had an announcement here earlier today. It's official. We will have the undisputed heavyweight championship fight taking place, right? As you're going to have the rematch between Alexander Usyk and Daniel Dynamite Dubois. Yes, so they will have their rematch at Wembley Stadium. They're in, what is they scheduling for? June 19th? Supposed to be June 19th or something. So, hey, man. July 19th. It'll be July 19th there at Wembley Stadium. So, you had Queensberry Promotions confirm, the event there Sunday morning. And contacted, somebody, that's close to the camp of Daniel Dubois, and they said, it's all good. So it's gonna be good to go. Hopefully, the IBF and the WBO don't want to, go ahead and step in because, as they say, unification is Trump mandatory. So you have this unification fight, officially a unification fight that usurps these mandatory challenges that they had up for these guys. So definitely looking forward to this one. We know what happened there in the first fight between the two, whether it's actual body shot or a low blow. That is up to everybody and Luis Pabon, but a whole lot of people disagree with Luis Pabon. So now here we are years later, and we're gonna have this fight here once again. And everyone knows how good Daniel Dubois has been able to perform since then. There with his string of victories, and of course with Alexander Usyk and his 2 wins over Tyson Luke Fury there last year. So this is easily the fight there in the heavyweight division right now.
Do you think Dubois can pull the upset? I'm buying in on the Dubois stock right now, bro. The Dubois stock has went up after
only if he does one thing.
What's that?
He got to do what essentially almost won him the fight last time. That needs to be his game plan from round 1 to round 12. He need to exclusively go to the body. If the ref say you low blowing, smile at the ref and then hit that motherfucker in the stomach again. That's how he win the fight, because if he tries to fight a boxing match, he gonna lose the boxing match. The
Right.
only way, the Achilles heel of Alexander Usyk is his body. He needs to go to his body and slow him down to the later rounds, to where Usyk is slow enough to where, again, he can hit him with body shots, slow him down enough to where he can hit him in the head. Body shot is the way he gonna win this fight, and probably to very well stop him to the body if he hit him, enough times to the body.
Yeah,
Usyk is susceptible.
yep. Yeah,
I,
that's for sure. And for me, Usyk, I'm not sure where Usyk will be as far as like how he's going to control his weight. I mean, he's pretty much been like around the same range in his past few fights, although he was a little bit heavier here in his second bout against Tyson Fury. But yeah, if Daniel Dubois just, as you said here earlier in the podcast, Box Academic, puts the balls to the wall or whatever it is, and digs down to the body, then and is consistent with it, then he should be able to have a little bit of success. I don't think that he's gonna really worry about the offense that's gonna come from Alexander Usyk there. I think he's gonna try to move forward and continue to move forward, and just don't care if Usyk tries to move around or whatever it is, being a southpaw. So he's gonna try to paw around it. But
who did Dubois beat in his last fight?
what's that?
Who did Dubois beat in his last fight?
Well, he had the Joshua fight.
How did that fight end?
Well,
Knockout.
it ended with Joshua getting baited basically, and being slower to the right hand with the right hand.
So Dubois' stock right now is through the roof. And when we talk about confidence, he's fought this guy already, and now he's got more confidence going into this fight. And let's not forget, Usyk's coming off a couple big wars, actually. He's coming off some big fights back to back with Fury. So those take a little bit out of you. How old is Usyk?
Is he 38?
And how old is Dubois?
27.
So that could play a factor where, it could just be timing, good timing. Forget the undefeated records. It's all about the right night. And Dubois, for like coming off of the victory where he's defeated the face of British boxing, he's got to be the face of British boxing. I think it's deservedly so. So
We'll see. That's key right there. I want to see if now they gravitate towards Dubois as the UK guy now. Like he's now this era's UK guy there in the heavyweight division. Like you had, your Frank Brunos, your Lennox Lewis's, you had, your Anthony Joshua's here. Now you have a Daniel Dubois, and see if that is going to be the guy to kind of like carry the pride of UK or whatever it is. I don't know. I might have to ask, a few folks out there in UK land how they, receive Daniel Dubois, because sometimes, there when I was there at Wembley, it was more of like a flip, or like a half and half, or so to speak, or maybe like 70, 70-30 for Joshua. But the thing with Joshua is like he was the guy that it wasn't just like with the people gravitating towards him. He had the endorsements, the sponsorships and all of that type of stuff. Does Daniel Dubois?
he was it, bro. He was the it guy. Everybody can't be it. It's some guys that's just it. What they call it, main character. Some guys are like just Joshua, despite his losses, can still get into big fights because of who he is as the brand. Anthony Joshua, the brand.
Even with what like he had a recent post out there where he was over in Africa, and You know how like people still like gravitate towards stuff like that. Like we had to see if Dave Dubois has that type of
He's a
appeal.
fighter. He's a fighter. Everybody don't got that, like, you know what I mean? Anthony Joshua knows what he's doing. He's bought in, and then he got Eddie Hearn behind him, where he'll do something like that, like go running through the
Like
jungle with
even
his shirt off.
like even with that win, right? Daniel Dubois hasn't reached 400,000 followers on Instagram yet.
Right.
And to that point, I don't think Daniel Dubois with the machine behind him will be the same Daniel Dubois as he is as underdog Dubois.
I agree 100%.
Because when there was, some push and he was like, well, this is the second guy, he's the next guy up. That was when he quit, to be quite frank. And yeah, I mean, he had a reason to, but after that fight, people were looking at him a little bit differently and question where his heart was. Him being the underdog, Dubois, like, that ain't gonna never happen to me again. You're gonna have to kill me in this ring.
So
That's
maybe
why I
he'll
think
have
him
the same
fighting
approach.
him
Here in the
fighting
city.
Usyk could be that though.
I agree, but the only thing that I slightly differ is that it's easier to say, harder to do. Let this man get in this ring and just, his heart will take him to a certain place. It'll keep him in the fight, but he has to literally implement Andre Ward's fight plan against what's the boogeyman at that time? Sergey Kovalev. He has to implement that. So different styles, but what I'm saying is what Andre Ward did was every time they were in the clinch, every time he was close, he unloaded a body shot. If he does that and implements the body like in every facet of his fight, jab, 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 high, jab, 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 body, you know what I'm saying? Sort of how Deontay Wilder started that first Tyson Fury round, like doing like that for a tall guy. But if he implement the body shots while they in the clinch and then, jab, body, stuff like that, and just relentless, yeah, he gonna lose a few rounds because he ain't getting off the clean shots, but it will give him so much in the bank for the later rounds, and then he gonna catch Usyk with one where it's gonna really get in, and it's gonna be the same thing. And this time, Usyk gonna have to make a real decision on whether he gonna sit down and really get counted out, or if he gonna keep moving or not. He ain't gonna get that, benefit of the doubt again. So only thing again that I'm saying is different is that if he don't come in there with no like laser focused game plan, which to me the only game plan of him winning is to the body. Any other game plan, I don't think he gonna win because Usyk gonna jab, 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 and Usyk can very well knock him out too.
And I gotta also like watch, how the positioning will be there with the Orthodox versus Southpaw. Like initially David Dubois really didn't care much about that as long as he was able to get within range and touch Alexander Usyk. And I think that's going to be his main thing is he going to be within range to touch Alexander Usyk? And once he does that, then he knows that he's going to be the guy to, have the, harder shots. It's just being able to get within range of, as Tyson Fury says, the rabbits. Okay, so we got to figure out if he's going to be able to catch Alexander Usyk there.
Could this be similar to like when Joshua fought not Kovalev, Klitschko?
What as far as like a pawing or what do we call it? A pawing match of sorts where they try to figure out like, okay, how am I going to be able to touch him? I'm going to have my lead hand out, see if I'll be able to get within range or something.
Like fencing or something.
No,
I meant like Dubois, the young guy that's about to retire Usyk.
Okay. How you see that? Okay.
If Usyk didn't have a 90, 98 in a certain category, maybe, but he got a 98 in endurance. He got a 90 whatever in speed, I think that just those intangibles, it's gonna make it so difficult because his movement and his speed and his endurance is what makes him win fights and is able to knock big guys like Tyson Fury out, you know.
But I
And
think though, not to cut you off, bro. I think too though, Fury kinda what version of Fury were you getting too? You know what I mean?
true.
He's been in a lot of he's been adamant. I mean not adamant, he's been opening about his, up and downness of the commitment to the sport. He's been in a couple big wars. What was it? 3 fights with Wilder, or was that 2?
3.
Wars. So like I said, you're not the same. And then he fought what Ngannou, and he kind of got that chin tap with Ngannou. So what version of Fury were you getting to really see? Was that a turn on Usyk versus a halfway there Fury, or you're getting versus like a Dubois who's coming off of a prime Dubois?
Yeah, Prime, coming off a string of wins where he's, stopped, those last fighters. But
So the only thing I would say, let me just
hold on, academic head. Of course, my other guy here on the queue, the resident chef of the Boxing Source on here, Chef Terrell, is here in the building to join us here. We have been having this conversation about this upcoming fight that's going to happen between Alexander Usyk and Daniel Dubois for the undisputed heavyweight championships. Just go ahead and have your quick thoughts on that fight, and then we'll get back to the boxing academic here in a little bit.
He got to tell us what that picture is, so I don't say the wrong thing. He try to beat me up later.
Hey, just some quick, man. Stuffed scallops. It's easy. I that was no real cooking, so that ain't nothing. That's some warm it up and making it pretty. That was some quick. That's all. Anyway, so I'm glad to see that we're going into Dubois Usyk 2, right? We know that Dubois was trying to get the fight with what's my Aussie name? What's the Aussie heavyweight name?
Who are you talking about for Dubois?
No. What? Maybe. Well, let me say this. Dubois was probably not trying to get.
Parker was like the only other contender that was in to get a fight. So
yeah, but I mean, so that's really the only avenue for Dubois with Parker. But we fast forward now to Usyk Dubois 2, right? Mm-hmm. And the main thing, and what's great about this, Usyk of course beat Fury for the second time. We saw that. That's a great. And still enjoying that victory lap on that. And but the thing about it, at the same time, Dubois, as we already know, you guys already talked about, has enjoyed his upsurge as well with victories over his last 3 opponents, and especially the last one via violent knockout. So it appears that both these fights are greater now, and sometimes you don't always get that. Sometimes somebody gets a bad loss and things like that. Even Dubois, he had a bad loss 4 or 5 years ago, and everybody thought he was done. But now, fast forward once again, these past 3 fights, big knockout victories that no one really saw coming from him, because pretty much everyone buried him at that point. Mm-hmm. And now we got what should be an even better fight now. Dubois coming with loads and loads of confidence and seemingly a different fighter now. But at the same time, what's that one saying? Familiarity breeds, I think, confidence, some like that, right?
Yeah.
So these 2 guys have fought each other before, so there's nothing that they haven't seen. They take each other's power, jabs, speed, ability, things like that. So there's nothing new here from either side that they're going to experience. So I hope to see it and they get right to it. But I mean, with Dubois, looks like his style now is to, let's say, get right to it. Where Usyk is more of a calculated boxing style, fill you out, foot movements, things like that. So I do expect to see that from Usyk, right? But it's kind of funny. I know you guys probably already talked about it from the first fight when Usyk had the purported low blow and everything. So I'm sure Dubois still thought about that and wants revenge from what should have been, in theory, his win back then. But that's why we fight the fights, and you got to suck it up and move on. So I'm very excited to see this fight. And once again, familiarity breeds confidence. Dubois a much more confident fighter now, as we see. But at the same time, Usyk knows him. He's like, dude, you ain't got none I haven't seen before, and I've already beat you and knocked you out. And we know in fights you have to overcome adversity in fights. We know that we talk about that all the time on the show. So get to it. Let's get to it.
Yep. They're gonna have a press conference for this fight Tuesday in London. And the thing there with Daniel Dubois, he's coming off of having that win against Anthony Joshua at Wembley Stadium. Could have been in that fight card February 22nd against Joseph Parker. That's the thing that I was trying to mention. But during that fight week, he got sick and all the stuff that was going on during that week. It was crazy. So he ended up being out of that fight, and that's why you had replacement opponent there and Martin McCauley there for Joseph Parker. But now you got Daniel Dubois in this position to potentially become the undisputed heavyweight champion there. Box Academic, there you had something there real quick.
Yeah, I got two things. So that's the best thing that could have happened to Dubois. I didn't want Dubois to fight Joseph Parker just because he had earned his shot. Like all the stuff that he'd been through, practically been the underdog in a few of those fights, he deserved his shot. And the second comment I had was to Topics, his comment on Fury. The biggest, I would say, ailment to Fury's loss in the second fight was his game plan. And so if you don't come in with a great game plan, which it should start with the body on Usyk, then you already down like 3 rounds. And so, Fury probably didn't fight his best fight per se, but he fought well enough to where he still sort of was in the fight. But his game plan is what really effed him over because he had a terrible game plan.
And that was my thing. I think in actually both fights, because I think in the first fight he was like extremely overconfident, especially early in the bout, because he was more of like a showman, particularly in those first couple of rounds, and I think he kind of like gave away those rounds to Alexander Usyk before fighting tall. So he fought tall. With the range, was able to, switch up, but still get it to the point where Usyk couldn't really touch him. But this could be to the factor of, what you and Topic said in reference to Fury's wars with Deontay Wilder, is that it took a lot out of him so that he doesn't necessarily have, what they would kind of say like the endurance that he had earlier in his career. So by the time it got to round 7 and round 8, that's where you've seen, as I say, the rabbits catch up to Tyson Fury in that first fight and be able to score that knockdown to flip the fight over to his favor. So
hey, that's when Fury started thinking about retirement in round 7 and 8.
Yeah.
You reminded me something. Fury blew the first fight. So again, it was his game plan because, like you said, he was in there loafing. And then the shots wasn't really affecting him. And then one shot got through where it did affect him. Yep. Fury blew the first fight by his game plan, but his loafing the first fight. And the second fight was just his implementation of whatever game plan they had, just on the front end.
Yeah.
And that's why I say Dubois right now, the timing, he's at his pinnacle right now. This is as most confidence as he could have. Like I say, he took down. He's from the UK, ain't he? Ain't he Dubois from over there?
Yeah. So he had.
You can't tell me I'm not the man, and I just knocked this guy out. If I'm Dubois, at least me thinking that I could be, whatever they call it, but I knocked him out. Talk to me nice.
But what's still funny about this is that. And what's unique with you, Usyk, right? We already know the story. Came up in cruiserweight, and there were so many questions about does he belong at heavyweight, and he has emphatically made the statement that he does, right? And even if in the fight back against Dubois, no one thought he would that would turn out to fight the way it did with a knockout, TKO loss, whatever it was, right? Even fast forward to the second Fury fight, no one thought they could probably hurt Fury, but we know in the heavyweight game. Anyone can get it on any given night, and no one thought that Usyk would hurt Fury like he did, and Fury didn't think that. which is why he was just playing slick and playing around in the fight in that sense until he got caught, right? But once again, like my man just said, Duval's at an all-time high. We get it, but once again, Usyk has seen that before. He's seen it before, so it's nothing to fear. At the same time, once again, that's why the fighters watch fights. Oh, what's new about him? What did he pick up? What's new in his game? Let me watch that and game plan on that. So it's going to be very, very good. Very good.
Dubois silently quit in that first fight. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, we talk about his confidence now. His confidence went out the window after the whole little call that happened with Luis Pabon. There with Alexander Usyk. He just, it's like his overall game plan just went out the window after he thought that he scored a knockdown, and then it ended up not being a knockdown. So,
how many years ago was it that they fought?
That's 2 years ago.
Dubois and Usyk.
Yeah. And ever since then, I was gonna say, since the start of this Riyadh season, which kind of like focused a number of things on the heavyweight division, there have been two guys that have been the most impressive fighters out there. One is Agit Kabayel, and the other was Daniel Dubois. As they're able to score, big knockout wins in their 3 fights.
You got to give 3
season. So
you got to give 3 with Joseph Parker.
Well, Joseph Parker, yeah, but with Parker, he didn't necessarily get the stoppage wins that these two did. And the thing with Kabayel and Dubois, I think that both of those fighters were like pretty sizable underdogs in a couple of the fights that they had. In comparison to maybe a Joseph Parker, but still these guys have had their impressive victories here over the course of about a year and a half or so here. But with Dubois having this upcoming fight here on July 19th here against Alexander Usyk for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world, now he's like, okay, I have this opportunity to, as they say, right my wrongs, so to speak, and get this win. And this kind of like actually has me thinking though too. Since he's based in the UK, from the UK, and I talked about it earlier when it came to him and how he may be received in the UK. Would he be like another version of Lennox Lewis when it comes to how he's being received? I have to look into that. Because even though Lennox Lewis kind of was decorated in the amateurs, so to speak, he didn't beat Bo. The ref took it from Riddick Bowe, but that's a whole other thing. But still, I just felt like Lennox Lewis didn't necessarily get the universal love that maybe like a Frank Bruno did back in the day.
I don't know, bro. I think they love Lennox Lewis. Like, I'm gonna say my auntie, right? I'm gonna say for my aunt. I remember as a kid, she loved Lennox Lewis. That's one of the reasons why I tuned into him, because my aunt, so that means a lot. My aunt don't really watch boxing, so that means that he had a big global profile. I feel like, so I feel like he's received and loved because that was one of her favorite fighters. She loved Lennox Lewis, and she right now she can't name, if she's seen Devin Haney in the grocery store, or Boots, or Terrence Crawford, or Earl, any of them guys, she wouldn't have no idea who they was. But she would know Lennox Lewis. You know what I'm saying? So Lennox got some. He's put his time in, man. He's got a good global profile. And Dubois, I don't think Dubois is like I say, bro. Everybody's not it.
Right? Yeah.
He's not into he's a fighter.
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, he, even like with his, his past couple of fights, he tried to, get him to talk a little bit and that type of stuff. Like, you don't necessarily, if you don't have that in you, as far as like that type of personality,
correct,
you can't necessarily develop it by a certain time of your, pro career. He's already like 24 fights in.
Who's your daddy?
Right,
That's what
right.
Dubois said. And for everybody listening,
Like it's gotta be because the people going. I think about it's like this for me, bro. Right?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure everybody in this chat has watched wrestling. You know what I'm saying? Or grew up watching or familiar with it.
grew up with it. Yeah,
This is how this has to be. When you think about your favorite wrestler, what made you gravitate to them? It's something about like their persona, their
their aura. Yeah.
organicness that you just gravitated to say, I like this guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, think about it. And there's a lot of sometimes wrestlers where you like, I'm not really bought into the plot behind this guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's similar to this, like with the boxing. That's why
Yeah, it's
people
like
love
charisma.
like,
Yeah, it's charisma.
yeah,
It's a similar thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing, bro, with these fighters. Like some fighters are just real good, and then there's some guys is just like, I don't know, it's like the marketing behind them got to be right to help them out, like put them in certain
Yeah.
predicament. So
Yeah.
I don't think Dubois he's not a like Anthony Joshua. He's the type of guy, he'll take the camera. He's cool with going live on Instagram and yo, I'm out here working out, like with a shirt off after he ran, because he got a bunch of chicks watching him. Yo, I'm out here just finished working out, good 8 miles. See you guys next fight. I'm out. Show some love in the comments. You know what I mean? Everybody don't got that juice.
Right.
Dubois fight though. He's a good fighter, and that's what a good promoter I feel like does too. That's why I'm a big Eddie Hearn fan.
is
For
he
certain,
married?
huh?
Is Dubois married?
Nah, I don't think so.
Oh, okay, never mind.
But yeah, you know what I mean? Certain guys like that where they need a promoter to kind of, and they gotta have a good relationship with a promoter. Where the promoter will be the one to help
Yeah,
them fight.
and Dubois there, with Frank Warren, and Frank Warren, does his thing here and there, but
He's a little older though. He gotta be with the
that's the
time.
thing. He's older, so he talks, but it's not like a guy that would be like out front or whatever it is. Like you talk about the thing there with like wrestling, right? With
Right.
Dubois, if he doesn't necessarily have like that charisma type thing, then I guess maybe you could build him as like how Brock Lesnar came out in his like pro debut or something like that, and you have Paul Heyman as his his advisor / manager. You would need like an outgoing person like a Paul Heyman or somebody like that could talk for a Daniel Dubois, I guess, in that sense.
Right. Because I'm gonna say it like this, right?
Yeah,
Look at example.
he's
Bill Haney. Right? Dev's a young guy, so he's up with the social media stuff, but he's not a big talker.
Yeah.
But his pops is like what makes the Haney brand what we want to see as fight fans, like this is what we're as fight fans into. Everybody's into like something different. We're into this. We're into like, okay, let's get online and see what these guys talking about today. This is our choice of entertainment, just like wrestling, just like soap operas, just like basketball, football. This is what we like. We like to see all of that. Bill Haney's a guy that he adds that, like you say, Paul, what's the guy name?
Heyman.
He's exciting. We want to see what this guy's talking about, and then Haney backs it up. And they got a good relationship where he's not going to say nothing that he's not confident in.
Right.
You know what I mean? He knows his son's limits. He's not going to over deliver his son. Mm-hmm. So like you say, that does matter. And I think that is important for a lot of fighters. Like for example, too, I know we're going all over, but Boots is not really that's why he don't got that superstardom profile. His skills is unmatched, you know what I mean? But as far as like really reaching, Boots don't got that touch the
outward,
people.
yeah, like outward style to do that, like outward flashiness.
Where people wanna, people
Like
like he don't give the people nothing.
he carries himself almost like Dev does when it comes to that. Like he's kind of like reserved, laid back, quiet. Like he don't really talk like that unless if it's absolutely necessary. You know what I mean? So like with him, that's why you would probably say he would need like an Eddie Hearn. Like being with Eddie Hearn right now. You know what I mean? So that like kind of like could work on his end where you would have a promoter like Eddie Hearn to boost you like that. Terrell, you had something to add with this part too?
No, just you guys are already on it. Just Dubois, he's not a big natural style talker that is, and so Sunflower's like for example, Teofimo Lopez, big talker, shit talker, would be good or bad. He's self-satisfied along with his father. But back to Dubois, he's more of a quiet type in that sense, and doesn't really know how to manipulate the public to his advantage and to his brand like that. So he's just kind of old school. Lets his fighting, does the talking for him like that. But we know that boxing is a business, so there's a different side to this as well. Like you guys were talking about with David Haney's father, people like that. Just so yeah, he's more
One more,
there is
bro.
kind of
One
a
more
big
thing.
yeah.
I'm gonna say like with Dubois, right? The fact that he is like a clean imaged guy, I feel like it's a team that should be behind him, placing him as far as like, doing like a Hanes ad or something like that, where he could still be a positive. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It got to be organic.
yeah,
Like he could be a people's champ. They don't got to make him a bad guy, and because
right,
then people gonna be like, we don't like when you talk like that, or that's not really. You know what I
yeah,
mean? He could still be the people's clean cut. They just
yeah.
got to
Yeah,
put
he could
him
be
in
like
the
that.
face
He could be
of
like
people.
the who I say
Put him in the milk ad.
how people view Frank Bruno. You know what I mean?
They got
But
to place him like, let's give him a billboard. Let's, what I
yeah,
mean? Build him. Like, let's get him
yeah,
to do some
yeah,
child
exactly.
development day camps and, what I mean, touch the people where they can say,
That's
oh,
the
like
people.
he's
Yeah,
actually
I
a
mean,
cool guy.
because like I said, I mean, he's supposed to be like the next guy. I mean, to defeat
Anthony
Anthony
Joshua
Joshua,
style.
right? So if you're gonna have, leading into that fight that happened last September, like I'll never forget like that walkway going to Wembley Stadium, that scene, just looking straight ahead to Wembley Stadium and nothing but billboards of Anthony Joshua, Under Armour, promotional marketing thing right there, right? Like you gotta have something that could, showcase Daniel Dubois. So why not have like a major company, backing him or something like that? If you can't get him to be, as I tried to suggest, a Brock Lesnar and have a Paul Heyman next to him, then have him be the clean cut guy. So that
And
was
that's who he is
I
organically,
don't
bro.
know. You know what? I'll have to hit up. I'll hit up somebody to see if they could probably suggest that as part of the team to see if that could work for Daniel Dubois and see how far that goes. You know what I mean? So
Man,
Because Dubois can fight.
make you tell his team to make sure they go to the body if he want to win this fight. From
yeah, I'll
from
suggest that as well.
from a couch observer.
I'll suggest that as well. But that's what I got here at this current juncture of the Bots and Source podcast. Of course, we got a big fight week, coming up here, of course, with the 3 fight cards, May 2nd, May 3rd, and May 4th. I will be talking about it a little bit. Well, that midweek report for Wednesday is going to be a lot there for that, because we got, of course, a card on Friday, the Canelo scorecard on Saturday, and Inoue versus Cardenas on Sunday. And if y'all haven't done so already, check out the interview that I had there with Edward, the Kid Vasquez, of course, who's going for that WBO featherweight championship against Rafael Espinoza. That is the co-feature bout 2 Inoue Cardenas on Sunday at T-Mobile Arena. And also had that conversation there with Chris Cyborg, as she has an upcoming fight in San Diego coming up. That should be for next month. So definitely a lot of content here on the Boxing Source YouTube channel for people to check out. And yeah, it's gonna be a really busy week that I'm looking forward to there. But big thanks for all of the panelists here that's been able to join in the Boxing Academic, the topic. Brother Terrell here in the building. Y'all be sure to check them out here on social media. The topic. We gotta set up another one of those conversations there again. Like you said, to catch up on what's going down in boxing. You know what I mean? So we'll
Absolutely,
see
bro.
we can set that up. And for Brother Terrell, have to get with you to see if you may still be down with the fight card for May 10th over at Kissimmee, Florida, because I got to catch up with them. So if they are able to do something for media, then I'll reach out to them to see if I can get you through on that. But that's what I got here. Next Sunday, there won't be one next Sunday, but on Monday, it'll be the 10th anniversary special of the Boxing Source podcast. That's right. Around that date, it'll be 10 years since the very first podcast episode. So y'all be sure to look forward to that.
That's major, bro.
Y'all.
Hey, Boxing Academic.
Yo.
Boxing Academic.
Yes, sir.
So did he just say it's going to be the 10th anniversary?
Yes, he did.
Do you think he'd be kind to share the link with us? Do you think he would do that?
Oh, speak up.
Hey, as long as he don't invite. I was gonna say something about new people, but my boy Topic pretty cool. Hey, Topic. What we talking about is that we was on the in the beginning with JR, and he be acting brand new sometimes. That's all we saying.
Yeah, sometimes he don't fuck with us. That's what it means.
Dang, man. You see how harsh that sounded?
No. Come on, man. See. You motherfuckers. Okay. All right. I'm putting cases on all you bitches.
but 10 years we can give him a hard time. With 10 years we can give him a hard time.
Oh man. But big thanks as always for being a part of the Boxing Source podcast. And hey, I'll catch all of y'all later, man. Until next time, peace out, y'all.